Welcome from the Tampa Bay IIBA. This is our BA Masterclass for May 21st, 2026. We have the pleasure of having Ayo to come to talk to us today about the gap between insight and outcome. He's going to explore why strong analysts often fail to influence decisions and how business analysts can move beyond insight generation to driving real impact. I'm looking forward to this presentation. Before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Thea Soren. I'm the president of this chapter. I've been a business analyst for almost 30 years. I've been doing a lot of stuff. Got to help write the BABOK, founded a few things, but all of that to say is I'm here to help you. If you need help, reach out to me. LinkedIn is the fastest way. For those of you who are new to the IIBA, many of us work as business analysts every day, but not everyone knows there's a global organization dedicated to advancing our own profession. That organization is the International Institute of Business Analysis, or IIBA. We are the global standard-setting body for business analysis, supporting a community of over 30,000 professionals across 120 chapters worldwide. The certifications many of you may already recognize or are working toward are grounded in the BABOK Guide, an internationally adopted framework that defines best practices for our work. And there are 4 additional certifications for specialty areas. At its core, the IIBA exists to elevate the impact of business analysts, helping us make better decisions, deliver better outcomes, and ultimately make the world better, one business and one project and one person at a time. So what are the benefits of joining the IIBA? You get access to training provided by chapters around the world. You get complimentary access to 25,000 outstanding books, videos, webinars, including the BABOK, and additional resources. You get discounts on certification exams that probably equal the amount of your membership. IIBA chapters are in major cities around the world. If there is not an active chapter near you, we can talk about you starting a chapter, or you're welcome to the Tampa Bay IIBA. Members of the Tampa Bay, Florida chapter are not restricted to the residents of Florida. In fact, we have participants literally all around the globe. If you do not have an IIBA chapter, Tampa Bay can be your chapter. Our vision here at the Tampa Bay IIBA is building a thriving community of empowered business analysts. So why would you choose to join our chapter? We offer multiple training sessions each week, including CBAP prep and coaching and an acclaimed SDLC workshop, among other things. You can view our upcoming events on our website and the updates posted across LinkedIn and Facebook. At the end of 2025, we had presented well over 300 events here during our BA Masterclasses and to organizations around the world. And those events are available on YouTube, but that's a lot. So to get to the index, go here to rpchurchill.com, and he's got an index of all of those for you. As a result of putting on all of those trainings and mentoring hundreds of individuals, the Tampa Bay IIBA was awarded the Global IIBA Award for Professional Development Excellence. And here is our esteemed board, and I'm so very proud of the efforts of each and every one. We currently have 2 CBAP training classes underway, and a result of some of the training classes we've given in the past is these students have reached out to tell us that our training and mentoring was a big part of their success in achieving their certifications. Many on this list are past participants of our CBAP study groups, but several studied along with us using only our YouTube videos. A good number have gone on to lead IIBA chapters here and around and other organizations around the world because we make leaders here. Another event that we have is we've written 2 books. The second one, this one right here, is sponsored by the Tampa Bay IIBA, and it is now available on Amazon. Each of these books cover 12 industries. What is it like to be a business analyst in that industry, including governing bodies, regulatory bodies, case studies, techniques that you would use, and real stories that you could learn from. I want to take a moment to appreciate all of our partners, but our number one partner group is you, IIBA members and those who participate in our chapter. We are partnered with over a dozen other IIBA chapters worldwide, and we're mentoring 4 chapters that are just forming. We partnered with organizations around the world that are not IIBA chapters because they give our business analysts help also. We've also successfully partnered with several recruiting services and training companies. Our goal is always to elevate our BA community. We've partnered with Purdue University with a mentoring program and to help provide speakers for their ITBA, the IA master's program. And of their speakers, we've provided over half of those. A benefit to you as our participant is you get to use discount codes. This discount code, Tampa21, is for Watermark Learning. They give you 40% off of their test bank, which is what many of my students have said is very effective. Adaptive US also gives us 20% off of their live classes and on-demand courses, excluding IBA exam vouchers. They also have a lot of really great stuff about business analysis on their website. Next week, Ignace is going to bring us AI that augments, not replaces, responsible adoption in our world that cannot opt out. He's going to explore how business analysis and organizational leaders can approach AI adoption more intentionally. The following week, Sophie is going to bring us human-centered AI and transforming conversational data into meaningful insights. She's going to present a practical approach to building human-centered AI systems that convert natural conversations into measurable cognitive insights. Joel Silverstone on June 18th is
Thea, you're muted.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we lost her. Oh no, there
Yeah,
she
she was
is.
probably muted.
okay. I don't know how I got muted. Thank you.
I apologize. Somebody had background noise and I hit you by mistake.
You
Sorry.
muted everybody.
That's me.
You are being so effective. Thank you for that. Let's go back. So Joel is going to talk to us about giving feedback that it inspires action, not resistance. So he's going to teach us in a very interactive session how to deliver feedback that leads to action instead of resistance, which is a great thing. And then the last one I'm going to tell you about is June 25th. I'm going to be giving a talk about stakeholder management practices for better project outcomes. This comes out of a 4-hour workshop that I delivered, and it got really good reviews. So I feel like it's going to be beneficial to you. One look ahead on August 13th, we've got 5 recruiters that are going to come to a panel, and we're going to talk about what skills do you as a BA need to have in 6 months if you needed to get a job, and what mistakes do they see BAs making, and what things that they want BAs to be sure that they do. So if you need to get access to any of these, you can go to our website, tampabay.iiba.org, go to the events page. We also put our events on the LinkedIn site, and we also have everything on YouTube. But once again, that's a whole lot. So go to rpchurchill.com and you can get an index to everything we have. Now I'm going to turn it over to our presenter, and here you go, sir.
Yeah, thank you to every single member of the IIBA Tampa Bay chapter for this opportunity to come speak to you guys today on, the gap between insight and outcome. I'm going to cover a couple things, and I think I have about 30 to 40 minutes to actually cover all of these sessions. As much as I can, I try to want to make this conversation as engaging as possible, just to carry everyone along. So I induced a couple icebreaker questions where I need everyone to participate in, and that way we can all gain and collaborate effectively, like on this particular, presentation. So without further ado, I will just proceed to share my screen and get started on that.
We can see your screen.
Yes, thank you. All right. So just to get started, I thought to bring up this particular question, and considering the fact that we have a lot of seniors, experienced, business analysts in the room, So I'm going to ask just this question, and we'll take the next 1 to 2, 3 minutes to kind of like just, indicate a couple things on it. So just a quick show of hands. How many of you in this room in the last 30 to 60 days have delivered a recommendation you knew was right, backed by clean data, insights, and solid analysis, and technically you just watched nothing happen? Sorry, I'm unable to see your hands, but if you are raising your hands, you could as well just indicate that. So I have 1, 2, or just 1, 2. All right, good. So let's take a pause there. So keep your hands up if it actually happened more than once. Cool stuff. Now, that gap between the insight and what actually changed is really why we are actually here today. Now, to get started, right, I thought to share a little bit background of myself. I had my undergrad degree in finance and applied mathematics, and I'm currently pursuing a graduate degree in management information system at Baylor University in Texas. My career has spanned across different functions in different capabilities. At some points in my career, I've, worn the hat of a program manager, a business analyst, a project manager, and also a product manager, right? And outside work or outside my career, I am a fitness enthusiast. And some of the things I have on my bucket list is, at some point in my life, I want to ski. I also want to go mountain hiking, right? I'm very nervous when it comes to heights, but these are some of the things I'm looking forward to achieving technically before the year actually runs out. So what are we looking at today? What I actually aim to cover in this session is, first things first, do a refresher of what insight is all about versus what outcome is. We'll take a look at why, or deep dive into why some of the organizations that we have today actually struggle to operationalize this insight, right? And it would be super wrong or awkward if in today's world, having a presentation without the infusion of artificial intelligence, we all know what it's actually doing in our day-to-day lives in every industry and every role we find ourselves today, right? And also touch about the leading organization problem behind this AI expansion and where you come in as a business analyst or business analysis within the strategic leadership of every organization. And at the bottom line is develop a framework or walk you through a framework for turning these insights into outcome and what high performing organizations actually do generally today. Now, to start off is let's take a look again into what insight is. Insight could be anything, right? Data interpreted into meaningful understanding, and it comes from visualization, it comes from trends, it comes from patterns, it comes from forecasting, it comes from predictions, also recommendations. And most of these things come directly from the first-hand contact support to the customers that we actually serve today in organizations, right? Customers could be anybody, let's not forget. It could be our internal stakeholders, it could be our external stakeholders, and it could even be ourselves using a particular product, right? And the result of these customers, right, is what actually translates into insights or the data that we actually use to make informed decision. Now, to cap it all is what exactly is outcome? Outcome is our measurable business impact. It could be KPI, North Star metrics that were actually tied to a particular solution, a particular business goal, or a particular business objective. And here are a couple examples that I highlighted here. Revenue growth, cost reduction, better customer experience, depending on what your organization is actually looking at, risk reduction, improved compliance and adoption, and lastly, faster operation, just depending on whatever it is that the organization is driving towards. Now, one thing you will notice is none of these say stuff like a really good dashboard, because really that's not an outcome. It needs to be quantifiable at the end of the day. So it's a thing, or a measurable things that actually change the impact of an organization or drive impact towards, the world we find ourselves today. Now, let's further deep dive into some of these things, right? We talk about insights, we talk about outcome. But the bottom line is insight actually gives visibility, but there is a thin line and a major gap between visibility and action, which is where this gap actually coming in, which is why I'm actually taking you through this entire process, right? Now, visibility comes from reports, dashboard, alerts, area recommendation, and we actually see the problem clearly. But as business analysts, do we really take action, right? Most people just stop at the data input perspective and never drive the entire process down to taking an action and improving efficiency within the organization. Now, why the organization struggle in this particular regard, right? I identified 5 good patterns that actually block insights from becoming an actual outcome. And I laid it out in this entire 5 buckets. I will deep dive a little bit into each of them. And I mean, by all means, I forgot to mention, if you have any questions, please just send it to, the end of this presentation. And I'm more than happy to take up, your questions, provide insights, and just hear what you think about, this entire process as well. So where do insights really get stuck? We talk about dashboard culture, which is where data actually comes in. Business analysis today creates insight-driven presentation or visualizations for executive stakeholders or senior stakeholders to actually see the forecast trends of every, goal, objective that they actually embark on today. Second is, fragmented ownership. Nobody really owns the execution, right? Who is accountable for what? You get insights, you get data, but nobody is actually owning that particular action itself. No operational integration, decision paralysis, and lastly, feedback loop. Now let's deep dive a little bit into this. But I have a particular question to everyone here. I want you to do some quick math in your head, right? Think about your organization, where you currently work. And it doesn't necessarily need to be is a big organization. It could be what you do in your day-to-day life, right? If it involves calculation, if it involves you creating dashboard, right? Then I will ask the question, how many dashboards or reports does your team, for instance, produce or maintain today? Again, I can't see the show of hands, but
Too many.
interesting. All right, I'll take that as a good. Now, of those, how many are tied to a specific decision that someone has to make every single week? You can speak up. I'm not seeing anyone's hands just in case.
It's based on statistics.
All right, do you want to share some more insight into that? Share the gap between those 2 numbers. So you have a number of the dashboard you are creating in your organizations and the number of these same reports that actually ties to specific decisions. Would you mind sharing a little bit insight into the gap between those 2 numbers?
Yeah, it's more of a pivot table. Well, it's a pivot table based off of approved requirements.
Great.
Looking to the past rather than the future.
Right. Any other person? All right, cool. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say mine's not for the past, it's for future requirements for before we go live. Before we start building.
Great. Now, every organization today have a dashboard or a reporting culture, as the case may be, right? But the truth is, reporting is just a deliverable, a very important deliverable that I think every organization needs to take cognizant effect of those particular deliverables, because at the end of the day, they are what really drive the next line of action or the outcome that an organization is trying to achieve. Now, this is a barrier today. This is a major problem, right? As part of what we are looking at between the insights, the gap between insights and outcome. Teams monitor metrics without changing behaviors. Success is measured by adoption of these reports without any action taken, right? And dashboard, again, they multiply from time to time. Like you said, you have too many dashboard reports that you kind of need to surface to make a decision at some point, right? Now, with that in place, organizations actually lack this decision structure where the matrix actually are supposed to trigger predefined action. Every recurring report has a decision attached, and success is measured by what is really changing. And that is one barrier. Second up on the list is fragmented ownership. When organizations or when business analysis or stakeholders, for instance, right, receive this data, receive this report, receive this dashboard, as the case may be, directly from a customer support agent, or maybe just someone who basically interfaces directly with the customer, what do they really do, right? Now, I have this question in my head, right? Who really is accountable for the outcome of the report that was supposed to drive, right? When you ask this kind of question in a room, you see maybe 2, 3 persons kind of raise their hand. But the truth is, if more than one person really raise their hand, it means that nobody really owns that particular act or that particular action. It just equals to zero because you need to identify one responsible owner on a single particular stakeholder that actually owns that action. That way, you could own that person down to it and then track accordingly. Again, like I said, nobody owns the execution after delivery, which is like a key problem. The example I highlighted here is analytics team say we deliver the reports. The rest is up to the business. Or you come to the business and they're like, oh, we got the reports. Someone else owns acts in it. What does it mean? It just means there is some barrier in terms of the fragmented ownership that actually happens in this particular process. One on the list, insights without operational integration. Oh, we get as much insight as we have, but we are unable as an organization to actually incorporate it into our daily workflow or whatever it is we're actually targeted at. Insight is being delivered, workflow is a no, outcome is a no. Without the integration of insight or action into these workflows, right, you amount to zero outcome, right? So the insight can be real, the workflow does not really know about it, and no embedded action path, no system trigger, and no next step of action. Fourth on the list is a decision paralysis. And I think everyone at some point in our career, we have been in this position. I kind of like broke this down into three different buckets. There is overload of information, overload of data, overload of insights rather. And based on that, we have competing priorities. You have stakeholders who want this to be done. You have a senior stakeholder saying, oh, we should prioritize this. What framework do you put in place, right? And based on this, you then have slow governance in terms of approval to say, look, we are agreeing on this particular solution or a way forward. We need secured approval. Most organizations today tend to run on a manual process whereby it goes in circles, where you need to have multiple meetings with multiple stakeholders. And at the end of the day, it delays decisions in terms of building solutions or going ahead to like progress on a particular workflow, on a particular journey. And last on the list is a feedback loop. How much time do you invest in iterating over feedback that you actually get from these customers? Let's say, for instance, you make a recommendation in your organizations today, right? And I mean, the product team goes ahead, they build this whole thing. How much time do they spend investing, right, in getting this feedback from the customer? Do you ask yourself these three questions? Was action taken? Did the action work? What changed because of this new improvement that we've actually embedded? Without these answers, at the end of the day, the next insight really launches into the same broken pipeline, which is why I think at some point, organizations and BA business analysis need to take cognizance effect into some of these barriers and try to address it accordingly. But it would be nice if, again, I run through this process without the infusion of artificial intelligence. We all know what AI is actually doing in our day-to-day business today. What I think it is how is AI really expanding this particular gap between insights and outcome? But I like to say or state, AI does not automatically create these outcomes. It only amplifies what is already there. And I'll show you a particular chart real quick. Before AI today, we could observe about, let's say, 10 insights a week, maybe 2 or 3 a day. I mean, that's because it has to involve a lot of manual overlook, manual review to different dashboard. I mean, we already talked about how many reports, I mean, each and every one of us in this room probably have to look into to like gain insights in the previous day or in the manual era. But with the infusion of AI or with the emergence of artificial intelligence into this world, we are technically generating about 100 or even more insight and data a week, meaning the pipeline capacity and the insights from AI actually grew, but the pipeline capacity did not actually grow with it. Now, what are some of the common challenges that we're actually seeing in this AI today? Now, alert fatigue. By the way, all of these challenges kind of like tie back to the 5 barriers that I actually explained, right? You talk about alert fatigue, you talk about recommendations without accountability, meaning there is no ownership after recommendation has been made, after insight has been provided, trust and governance concerns. And I think this is a major issue when it comes to artificial intelligence on the general scale. And I like to come to the conclusion when it comes to trust and governance to say, look, organizations today need to invest more in data governance before proceeding to put in or pour out money into some of this AI infrastructure, AI factory, or AI investment. And the reason is because, I mean, these artificial intelligence tools, right, or these models by themselves are super data driven. Then be data driven, meaning we are getting as much insight as we want. We are getting as much data, recommendation, trend, forecast as much as we want. But do we really trust the system? How can we limit as many barriers or many bias, right? From these models and from the system itself. And lastly on this list is the lack of prioritization framework. And I mean, from time to time over the course of my own career, on the project side, I use the impact, efficiency, and also influence framework. While on the product side is more of the RISE framework, where you look at, I mean, the reach, the influence, the level of confidence, and the efforts it actually takes, right, to proceed with a particular recommendation or build out a solution, right? Now, just to recap, AI does not necessarily or automatically create these outcomes. It amplifies both organization strength and weaknesses. I'd like to state, if your operating model cannot turn insights into outcome before AI, trust me, it's never going to start because of AI, because there is a broken pipeline in your day-to-day workflow, which is why the outcome you get today are super fragmented, right? Now, what is the hidden problem behind this gap? Three key things here: structure, process, and the people behind it. Now, let's deep dive a little bit into it. On the structural side of things, for each of these things, I'll try to give an example, right, from my experience, I mean, in the real world or in the real scheme of things. I'll take it from the human side of things. I feel like everyone today, I mean, in every project or every journey we actually embark on, involve people management, involve stakeholder management, right? A lot of people think solution being built or AI being infused is coming to take up their jobs or is coming to take over their role. But the truth is, as a business analyst, as a project person, you're probably thinking of it from a process improvement perspective, a process enhancement perspective, and you're just open to help the organization grow, right? Amplify your own task or amplify your own role, as the case may be. So people tend to be super resistant to change, which leads to low adoption, unclear incentives, and also fear of accountability. Now, moving away from that to the process side of things, right? I talked about how approvals can be slow in some organizations and how this actually impacts the manual workflows that are actually in these organizations today. And because of the lack of automation, it leads to a major problem and delays in how some of these solutions actually like going in that process. And lastly, structure. This is more of a governance perspective, right? Different systems in silos, right? They are working in different kind of, I mean, two data centers. But the truth is, every organization needs to have a single source of truth. And what do I mean by that? You need to be able to have or create a centralized system where you could go in there, spool as much data as you want, right? And limit the emergence or evidence of misaligned KPIs, which then leads to poor business and technical communication. All of these three different buckets are major problems that we actually live by today, right? It's very important for organizations to, I mean, at some point, mitigate against these things and seeing how, I mean, they can move forward from there. Now, where do you come in as a business analyst? This is where you come in. I like to give it a term here, a connective tissue. Most of you in this room today, you're already doing most of this work. I mean, you're already a decision enabler, you're already a translator, you already serve as a workflow integrator, you already serve as a governance partner, you also serve as a transformation driver. But the truth is, not everyone in this room actually knows this, right? Or, I mean, not every BA. Mostly is amongst the senior BAs who identifies themselves as a connective tissue where they can come in, proceed to make decisions when they receive an insight, translate this data into meaningful outcome or meaningful process, integrate it into the workflow of the organizations, and ensure that the whole governance structure of the business analysis development lifecycle, right, is all governed fully by the rules, by the principles, and ensure that you drive this through the feedback loop, ensuring that it creates the desired outcome, right? So like I said, decision enablers frame the choice, not the data. As a translator, you're a translator between the business and technology. And it goes both ways, right? From business to technology, from technology to business, right? You need to be able to translate all of this insight, all of this data to meaningful, business objective and goals that you kind of like lay out in your organization today. And seeing yourself as a workflow integrator rather, push the insight into operational, like let everybody use it. Let it be embedded and be implied into every workflow that you do today. As a governance person, define the ownership, accountability, and guardrails for each of these solutions, then redesign decisions that actually gets made. So just before I move into the final part, I thought to just share this. What strategy teams actually must do today. This is well known today by most of us in this room. Connect insight into execution, define ownership, align metrics to business goal, and then build, this measurable workflow. So don't forget, treat yourself or treat the handoff rather as a deliverable, not an afterthought. I think this is very key, right? Because insights come in, this data come in, but it just stays at that particular point, right? No one puts in afterthoughts into it to take this whole action, take this whole data, and then proceed to like develop something that actually solves the problem. Every insight gets a name attached to it, right? Operational KPIs mapped to revenue, cost, risk. Again, all ties to a particular business goal and an outcome for that organization. And if you cannot measure the action, you really cannot improve it. So I came up with a particular framework. It's an 8-level stage, right? To really turn every insight you get, right, into outcome. And the truth is, if you skip one stage, unfortunately, it's going to break that particular chain. So let's deep dive a little bit into this particular framework. First is the signal side of things, but just before I proceed, like, look at this. Signal, interpretation, prioritization, ownership, operational action, adoption, measurement, and feedback loop. Now look at these 8 stages. Pick one insight from your team that your team has actually produced in the last quarter. Anyone, it could be anything, right? And trace it through these stages in your head. I'm just going to give you about 10 to 15 seconds to probably think about this and see where the chain actually breaks for your organization today. Anyone mind sharing?
I usually run into trouble around 4 or 5,
Great.
usually because people don't want to change.
That's right. I agree to that. Any other person?
I have more trouble at 5 than 4 because even if they want to change, getting approval, getting it prioritized, getting budget, that just, it's like they could see the value, but there's so many other things competing.
Right. One more person? All right, I think I'll take this. You're all actually correct, right? For what I've seen so far, oh, someone said something? Okay. So for what I've seen so far, most chain actually gets broken within 5, right? A lot of people, stakeholders tend to ask the question, really, what's that chain? Like nobody actually owns anything, right? And because of that, you go through the process of getting the data, you interpret it, you prioritize, you own it, but who really wants to adopt it? Like the process of getting approval to proceed to building that solution and getting your team to adopt it, it kind of like just breaks within this particular number 5. And with that being said, right, if it breaks, it goes through that loop cycle again. Because when you get another insights, when you get another data, it just keeps getting stuck at this particular stage. So every organization needs to understand this framework, right? I feel like it's a very good one because you get a signal, you interpret it, you prioritize, you own it, you get approval, right? What exactly is this change? What does it translate to? You get your team members, you get your stakeholders or the business operation leaders like to kind of like adopt it, secure buy-in from these guys, right? Then measure the outcome of this particular goal or objective and run it through a feedback loop, right? What has actually changed? What has improved in that process? With that, you know where the gap is coming from, and you know for a fact that whatever insights you actually get from time to time, right, translates into the desired outcome that you probably had laid out for yourself or documented at some point in, your process development life cycle. These are three properties of a working pipeline. The owner is very critical, right? Accountability is very key in this entire process because if no one knows anything, or if more than one person says they own a particular process, is as good as zero ownership, right? Because you keep passing the blame to each other. Oh, he's supposed to report on this. He's supposed to report on this. Oh, it's not me. It's this person. Doesn't make any sense in the organization, and you probably not make any progress, right? Every state produces a particular signal, right? Each state emits measurable artifacts for the next stage to actually consume. So it's more or less like an input and an output, right? When you get an input from signal, it proceeds to, lead into interpretation and then goes within the particular roadmap or that particular flow, as the case may be. Then incorporate your feedback loops, not just forward it, ensuring that every feedback you get incorporates it into your NTD life of, your business analysis, as the case may be. And what the last part of this is, what the best organization actually do differently. This is more or less like an overview of everything I've actually said, right? Don't forget the framework is the key to this entire conversation. Operationalize insights quickly as much as you can so you can get your feedback as quickly as possible. Embed analytics in your workflow. You want to be able to track how a particular solution or a particular recommendation is performing, right? From a data perspective, automate repetitive decision responsibly, create an accountability structure, align metrics with the execution and also with your senior stakeholders, and continuously measure the impacts, right? Again, it should be an habit, not a capability. Anyone can adopt them. Most tend not to. And I'll just leave everyone with these words, right? The organizations that succeed in the AI era, right, analytics era, will not be the ones with the most data. Rather, they'll be the ones that can translate insight into fast, measurable, and repeatable business outcomes. And at the end of it all, we want to make sure that whatever data, whatever analytics, insights that we get from an organization perspective, we drive it through the entire process and ensure that it creates a measurable outcome to every process, every goal, every objective that we embark on today. So yes, I think I can pause now to take questions.
Okay, who has questions for Ayo?
Have you encountered any effective ways of making that, ownership, that need to change, a little bit easier to accept?
Unfortunately, the truth is, because we are dealing with people in these entire components things, right? Like I like to say this, right? People are super tough and hard to manage, right? So as much as you can, you want to get their buy-in before you even proceed, right, to recommending a solution and then going into spending resource, time, and effort, right, to build a particular solution or just do that. Now, with that being said, right, you just need to continuously coach the same set of people about why you think this particular recommendation is actually going to be helpful. It's not yet to take over your job, right? More also, it is yet to actually improve your process and efficiently change the dynamics to how you actually operate on your day-to-day. So that coachability aspect, ensuring that you drive adoption, ring the bell to them, like say to them also in your meetings, right? Let them know the reason why you're actually taking up this recommendation and why you think it's going to be beneficial to their process and to the organization at large.
One observation on that I've encountered in a lot of different directions. When something is perceived to be more efficient, people are afraid that they're going to have to do more work because what they were doing is finished faster and they get rewarded with more work to do. I don't have an answer for it, but I've observed it.
Well, unfortunately, I like to say the reward to hard work is more work at the end of the day, right? So when you output as quickly as possible, you can't get more jobs, right? However, you output efficiently, that's a great thing for you, right? But the truth is, you output quickly, you definitely will get more work in every organization we find ourselves today, and that's just the reality of things.
I'd like to build on that.
Okay,
One of
sure.
the most successful strategies I have is get them to identify what's painful about the current situation and then get them to talk about what they would do if they didn't have to spend the 4 days a month writing that report, or what would be what's in it for them to have that change. And then you can say, I can help you do that, and they're a lot more likely to be on board with the change if they can identify the pain and identify what the replacement pleasure would be.
Yeah, I'd agree to that. Kind of like just incentivize your recommendation to them, technically. And it just
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense when they see forward, oh, what they are looking forward to gaining, and that way they are more motivated to want to adopt those processes. I
Right.
would agree to that.
Kind of a sneaky way, Thea, to sneak in the fact that they'll have more time to do more work. But they might not make that connection.
Well, to be honest, it's mostly been, they do this mundane, repetitive thing, and they know nobody looks at the report anyway or whatever. But if they could do this other thing, it would make their jobs easier. They could do more creative things. They could solve problems that have been plaguing them for a long time. They just haven't had time to get to it. So it's like it's a carrot, it's like, okay, take it, take it. I see Bob
Yeah.
has his hand up.
The
Yeah, please go
other
ahead.
thing you could say is that, yes, you do have to do more work, but it'll be easier. B, the whole point is for everybody to be able to do more work. And C, if we don't do more work more efficiently, our competitors will, and then you'll have no work at all. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, chump.
That's right.
Right. Right.
That's right.
You have to be a
One of
little
the
more political, but that's true.
But he's so right.
Yeah.
I know.
I think one of the
That's why
challenges
I
that
haven't worked in a long time.
Bob, I get in trouble for talking like that all the time. So that's why
I get
I
not
acknowledge
hired for
the
talking
truth is
like
painful. I still haven't quite learned how to smooth it over.
one of the challenges I've seen is people gather a whole bunch of data, but they don't know how to turn it into a story that says we have this information and it means this thing. It's more, we have all this information and I'm going to create this beautiful dashboard, but it doesn't tell a story.
And that's getting more people in trouble than it should. I come from the era where everybody wanted to collect everything about everybody and everything, and then you started getting data breaches, and it's like, damn, we don't even use that data, and now we got to pay all this money for the mistakes of releasing it. So,
And there's the governance idea that you don't keep data
yeah,
around that you don't need because it can get you in trouble just by having it.
exactly.
That's right. I think it just goes back to the point of, just some of the barriers that we kind of like just encounter, right? Again, you just spoke about too much information and people not knowing how to actually build a story around it, and also the governance side of things. So yes, it's actually a major barrier in every organization today, and all of this just create a fragmented, decision process, which just makes your process more friction at the point.
What other
Should we have more
questions or
questions?
comments do we have? Anybody? Well,
Oh, I
what?
have
Yes,
something.
yes, Bob.
When I did a large business process re-engineering effort, the CEO of the company told all these people, and this may not apply all the time, but it's a great arrow to have in your quiver if it applies. and that is that, look, we know this is going to eliminate a lot of jobs in this department, but you're all going to be placed someplace else in the organization. So, if there's any way to pitch in as either we'll be able to serve more customers so everybody will stay busy or something like that, it doesn't necessarily have to mean more work or losses. So keep that in mind. Look for win-wins if they're possible. On the other hand, you have what Elon did at Twitter, and he got rid of 80% of the people. Everybody said the place would collapse, and the place swam along without missing a beat. So 80% of or a large percentage of an organization's workers might be fluff. And some of them would be dumb enough to make TikTok videos advertising that fact.
Well, there is that rule that 20% of the people do 80% of the work. I guess he found the right 20%.
Possibly.
And I don't know if many people would agree that Twitter is efficiently running anything.
Well,
Yeah.
Twitter
It
is
went from a
running,
garbage dump to a deeper garbage dump.
and now it's on fire.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about competing priorities. That seems to be the place where things slow down the most. You can do all of the great data analysis and do present the story, but if you have people that they've got their pet projects that have to go first, it doesn't matter how good your story is. It almost seems like you have to get to the place where you can do a comparison between their pet projects and your story so that you can, do it at a data level so that you could show the difference in the return on investment and the benefits. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I was just gonna add just to add to that, right? And I think this is where setting prioritization frameworks would play a major role because most of these prioritization frameworks that we have today kind of like create a weighted average across board, right? And I'll give an example. You have rice out there, you have Kano models, you have, the reach impact and stuff like that. But the truth is, you want to measure how much process improvement, like how much it actually means to your stakeholders, how much it actually means to your customers, right? Now, in the event that you actually find yourself in a position where you've done this entire framework analysis, you've run your analysis, you've estimated your ROI, and there's still conflict. What I try to do is create a buy-in, right? In the sense that, oh, give the stakeholders or give, all of these project guys, let's say $100, for instance, and ask them, amongst these recommendations, among the solutions, which will you slap your money on? It makes it easy, right? Because conflicts always happen, conflicting priorities always come into play. But really, you want to come to a conclusion on which one am I actually supposed to prioritize before the other. And to do that, just create that entire framework and that model for where, or structure rather, for where every organization or every process owner, right, comes into a room and agree on whatever it is that it needs to build next.
I guess that it doesn't need to be said, but I'm going to say it anyway. You also need to understand the goals of the organization and the timeline for each of the goals so that you can align all those projects up with those goals and be able to talk to that.
Right.
Ayo, would you talk about slow governance a little bit more?
Yeah. So with the slow governance, right? It's really just around the entire approval process and the entire approval window that is really required, right? Um, in today's world, super fast paced, right? You need to move real quick because, I mean, you come up with an idea today, you come up with a recommendation today, you probably have a competitor already building something like that. So if you have a fragmented approval process where you have to go through multiple chains, right? Just to secure approval or spend months aligning with stakeholders on this particular
Okay.
thing and secure their buy-in, right? It just makes that process super fragmented and just slows down, right? Your time to market at the end of the day. So creating that faster approach or that faster process to ensuring that whatever recommendation you make is being approved as quickly as possible and then goes into the entire development phase. It's something that would help, in terms of your, decisioning within your organization.
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what other questions or comments do we have today?
Sandy, go ahead.
So, the slow governance, this is what happened with my last place. There are a
Okay.
number of very proprietary silos of departments, and the communication at the top between all of them occurs, but again, it's so proprietary that there doesn't seem to be a lot of communication, collaboration, and that kind of thing. So that would be competing priorities for sure, but it also, because of that, it really slows down that entire process. And many times what I discovered was that it led to too much information because we kept having to go back to the beginning and gather this and gather this and gather this. It just bottlenecked the whole process. What kinds of suggestions do you have about that?
So the way that it has worked for me in the past is, I try to secure the buy-in, right, from the sponsor itself, right? For every project or for every process and as itself, like I secure that buy-in from the sponsor. And what I do is because when you find yourself in these situations, right, you probably want to go into a project steering committee meeting where you bring your sponsor and the owner of this particular project together and let everybody make a decision in that meeting. It's more or less like a go no go decision meeting, right? And the earlier you do that, right, the better for your process to actually move forward and not delay or fragment the entire process.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, if we have no other comments or questions, I want to thank you, Ayo, for your presentation. You've given us things to talk about, which is a very nice thing. I have no doubt that we're going to bring those to our workplaces tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, give them a round of applause. Ayo, do you want people to connect to you on LinkedIn?
Oh, yeah, sure. Why not? I'm
Okay.
just gonna share my LinkedIn profile real quick. Sorry, just not gonna second. Oops, 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 oops. I'm just trying to go to. Uh, or sorry, I don't have the link for it. I'm just gonna have to log in.
Okay.
Trying to think what the name is.
We
You
have
got this?
links to you on all our announcements, so
Yeah,
Oh yeah, actually,
You're
we'll
good.
send
yeah, that
those out.
works. Yeah, that works. But
Okay,
I could also
perfect.
drop. Yeah, I'll just drop the link right away on this chat as well. Just so we all
That
see it.
works.
Yeah, sure. I have the link now, so here should be good.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
I'm sure that you've made people think about things that they haven't previously thought about. We'll be back here next week. Esther's going to be doing the facilitation, and we've got a totally new presenter. I think next week is
Gotcha.
about AI too, so that's going to be interesting. Okay. I know that that's
Yeah.
some of y'all's jam. We will do it. Okay. See you next week. Talk to you later,
Yeah. See
guys.
you. Thanks for
Bye.
having me. Thanks. Bye, guys.